Welcome back to the Gentleman's Gazette. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the fanciest piece of clothing of the 21st century. Denim jeans? As much as we are going for a little bit of fun with that opening, it's very true nowadays that if someone is going to dress up, they might be reaching for a pair of jeans as a point of foundation in that outfit. As the apparent next step up in formality from the otherwise everyday sweatpants or athleisure clothing. Granted, there are absolutely times where denim is the right choice for your going out attire. After all, no one's asking you to wear a white tie to the ballpark. But there's no denying that a pair of jeans has become the universal choice when it comes to a multitude of events. Think of occasions that traditionally have a higher level of formality, and I guarantee you'll find someone donning denim. We've certainly seen it with our own eyes, whether it's sitting down to enjoy a theater show, joining other diners at an upmarket restaurant, or even attending a wedding. You just can't escape that jeans are very present in these traditionally formal attire-only situations. So as we ponder the sartorial conundrum, let's take a look at a time before denim took over. We dive into the history of jeans with a review of the American classic Levi's 501. So if you'd like to hear our reviews on these iconic jeans, or learn more about the history of denim, then you'll really enjoy that video as a companion to today's video. In a nutshell, denim has been used to craft jeans since the mid-1800s. They were actually closer to overalls than the standard jeans model that we're used to seeing today, even being referred to as overalls in their marketing. As you can see, the use of these early jeans was strictly practical, as the choice of sturdy denim and copper rivets to reinforce the seams were hardly comparable to the wool suits of the city in terms of elegance. But that's the beauty of both of these fabrics. Each performs a different function for a different setting. So for a decent portion of denim's history, jeans were strictly worn for manual labor, and wouldn't have ever been seen outside of these settings. Now, it's important to remember that society at this time was very rigid in its etiquette and codes. There was a visible class difference, where people were expected to look and behave in a particular way depending on what class they were. And most people, regardless of their class, would own a set of best clothes to be as respectable as possible whenever they needed. So what we see in the early days of jeans is that they exist to protect the manual laborer. And that's pretty much it. Clearly, at this time, jeans were not considered fancy at all. But perhaps the streamlining of the design around the 1930s was the first step towards the wider acceptance of jeans. Fast forward to around the 1960s and 70s. And well, all of this stuff happens. Our video editors are brave folks for looking through all those images. As much as these decades hold a few painful fashion memories, it's worth noting that not everyone dressed like they were an extra on the set of an Austin Powers movie.
Yeah, baby! Yeah!
As Preston has previously explored in our guide to what men really wore in the 1960s, there was a great deal of stylish menswear, all with a classic flair, which meant it was easier for men to look their best at a wider range of occasions. The Technicolor explosion of trends in these decades was a way to combat what the counterculture movement saw as stuffy or boring clothes, as well as a way to rebel against authority. This particular theme had started a decade prior in the 1950s, with cinematic bad boys such as Marlon Brando and James Dean using casual clothing, rooted in workwear, as a way to promote an air of cool confidence, and even perhaps recklessness. Ultimately, this type of character appealed to an audience who wanted to be different than the generation above them. And we all know that celebrities will influence how styles change. So as the counterculture movement of the 60s and 70s said, to heck with the tasteful suits. You can see how jeans were first used as a way to stick it to the man, but then became fashionable items themselves in the fashion trends of the mid-20th century. These decades of experimentation did still draw the line between casual and more formal attire, like black tie. But even this dress code wasn't safe from some questionable choices. That thing won't leave us alone. Overall, at this time in history, things were very split. You were either in casual or formal clothes. And even throughout the counterculture movement, events with a higher degree of formality were respected, and the jeans stayed at home. But was this set to change in the next decade? The 1980s. The decade of why? Okay, perhaps that was a bit harsh. For many, the 1980s was all about excess, exaggeration, and being incredibly bold, whether it was the shoulder pads, the hair, or what brand of an item you owned. These elements have been well discussed in both American Psycho and Wall Street, where you can see style mixing with the desire to work hard, as well as play hard. So while people eschewed the flamboyant stylings of the previous decades for a return to more classically inspired clothing for business, it's the element of what you did when you weren't at work that really boomed in this decade. We all love to lay back and relax, but leisure time was a big deal in the 1980s. and it wasn't in the Netflix and chill style that we know today. Personal fitness saw a huge increase in popularity with a focus on looking your best both outside and inside the gym. The popularity of movies and TV shows set in exotic locations meant a huge uptake in bright and casual resort wear. Because you need to roll up your linen jacket sleeves to show off those fresh from the gym arms, right? So for trips to and from the gym, where lycra was king, you didn't want to wear something that was too delicate, like a suit. Instead, it was much easier to throw a pair of jeans and a sports shirt into your gym bag. Because after all, they were designed to withstand this sort of treatment, where an expensive designer suit just wouldn't perform. But what if you weren't into the fitness craze of the 80s? Well, leisure time was still as important, and the 80s would respond with the best role model for this.
I love these lazy Saturdays.
Yes, shows that premiered in the 80s like The Simpsons and Seinfeld were a new breath of life for the average person on the streets. And this type of entertainment was written with an everyday audience in mind. The main characters would often be seen wearing jeans. Okay, I know Homer's iconic pants are simply referred to as blue pants, but they look like jeans, right? I mean, he takes jeans pretty seriously.
A counterfeit jeans ring operating out of my car hole!
These examples show a major step forward in the overall acceptance of jeans as a everyday garment, instead of a workhorse item of clothing, or a symbol of rebellion. The immense casualization of what took place in the 80s really changed our perception of what we find acceptable in clothing, as people started to dress for themselves and for what they felt comfortable in, instead of dressing for others and the requirements of the occasion. And this trend would only continue. What does it look like now? Since the 90s, we've seen a resurgence of chasing trends, similar to how it was in the 70s, with one particular trend being hard to ignore: designer denim, and the subsequent trickle-down of designer styles into mainstream fashion stores. Throughout the 90s and 2000s and up to today, what jeans look like has fluctuated greatly and frequently. There have been bootcut jeans, tapered jeans, skinny jeans, spray-on jeans, carrot fit jeans, ripped jeans. Oh yeah, and then there were apple-bottom jeans. Wait, nope, not showing them the rest of that for many reasons. What's safe to say is that jeans have soared in popularity since the new millennium, with pretty much any style of denim pants being a-okay for any situation. And it's easy to see the reason why, if jeans have become a luxury item in their own right, as the majority of designer jeans coming in at eye-wateringly expensive prices. A pair of distressed-looking Ralph Lauren RRL jeans at $499. The stark wash denim from Gucci costs $620, and these jeans from Tom Ford will set you back $770. With these steep prices, it's no wonder that people are saving their denim purchases for special occasions. I mean, for the price of one of those pairs, and using our secret technique, you can get an entire classic ensemble. Want further proof? Raphael scored his entire outfit here for $255.32, almost half the price of the cheapest designer jeans we've seen. The most fascinating aspect of designer denim is the somewhat paradoxical name. After all, denim has been a hard labor fabric for centuries, and jeans were a signature garment for the everyday person. So it feels a little strange to see something that started off as workwear to now be considered luxury, right? Not only that, but the reality of designer denim is that unless the brand's logo is literally emblazoned all over the jeans, no one's really going to be able to tell the difference between it and any other pair. So it gives the average person credence to wear their $50 jeans to a fancy restaurant, because other people are doing it in $700 denim, and no one can tell the difference. Overly expensive jeans aren't the only reason they're considered fancy nowadays, though. There's another 80s trend that's contributed to the dressing down of the 21st century: athleisure. Although athletic clothing has been around for decades, it's had very strict areas where it's been appropriate. Now, athleisure has surpassed jeans in terms of what people wear when relaxing. Leggings, jeggings, meggings, and sweatpants have all become commonplace clothing. And even we at the Gentleman's Gazette enjoy the occasional piece of athleisure clothing. As the comfort-first mindset continues, many people have stated that they find jeans to be uncomfortable when compared to the soft and stretchy leisure wear that they get to wear for the majority of their day. So it's easy to see why jeans become a choice when dressing up, as there's always been this weird universal thought that fancy clothes should be uncomfortable. But as you know, the reality is, clothes are only uncomfortable if they don't fit you well. Is there hope for the future? As we look to the future, what do things look like? Well, there are two things that give us hope that sartorial standards can be maintained moving forward. First, there's choosing quality denim, as suits and ties are being worn less nowadays. You may be interested in the developing passion for denim that is designed with tailoring in mind. perfectly complementing the craftsmanship and formality in your wardrobe. Brands such as Blackhorse Lane in England are putting a huge emphasis on creating a pair of jeans that look timeless and can be paired with classic pieces of clothing. And the construction is at a similar level to bespoke clothing, but costs much less than any designer denim we've seen. People are also starting to care more about buying less but better, in a move that gets them away from fast fashion shopping. After all, quality denim can and should be repaired and rejuvenated over time, and will look all the better for being enjoyed. Our second hope for the future really shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Classic is comfortable. Comfort isn't just based on how soft or luxurious something feels. You can own a pair of pants from the softest cashmere, but if they're 5 sizes too small, I guarantee you'll be uncomfortable. But comfort is also an internal feeling, as I'm sure you've experienced embarrassment in some part of your life. We certainly have, and it really doesn't feel comfortable. Wearing clothing that's appropriate for the occasion is guaranteed to make you feel comfortable internally. And fancy clothing is rarely uncomfortable. People just think that it is because of negative stereotypes and bad experiences. Well-fitting clothes and quality materials will feel just as comfortable as jeans or even athleisure, but you'll look far better in a soft suit than in a tracksuit, and be more comfortable in yourself too. So are jeans fancy or formal now? So return to the main question of today's video to determine if jeans are the new fancy pants. And honestly, the answer here has got to be no. Dress codes do still exist and they do still matter, but the appropriateness of jeans has increased with the dawn of athleisure. Good quality denim will always be better than sweatpants, and choosing a pair of simple dark wash jeans and a flattering cut will do wonders for you. You will enjoy a greater variety in your wardrobe and in the outfits you can create. But don't be afraid to stretch a little further up in the formality scale too. We're certainly not saying you need to wear a suit everywhere, as that can be considered just as inappropriate as sweatpants in some settings. But a nice pair of smart pants and a classic shirt like an OCBD is a great foundation to so many 21st century outfits. I'm curious, where do you stand on the denim debate? Be sure to join in the conversation in the comments below. So today I'm wearing a blue and white checked button-down shirt, a pair of dark wash jeans, and a pair of brown suede chukka boots with a pair of Fort Belvedere socks that are brown with a light blue stripe in the middle. Check out the Fort Belvedere shop here for socks like these.